When we're young, we look to our parents for guidance, to teach us the difference between right and wrong, to help us make big decisions, because in our minds, parents can do no wrong. Mom, dad, oh wise ones, share with me your infinite secrets. However, in reality, they only really emphasize on the bare minimum. How many of you were taught to always share, whether it be with your siblings, or with your friends at school, or just sharing in general? What about to always be honest? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but lying in front of your parents is probably one of the scariest things in the world, right? So how many of your guys' parents really emphasized on honesty? How about to be kind, or the golden rule as many people call it, to open the door for others, to offer help if help is needed, just please and thank yous? How about to always do your best? Win, lose, doesn't matter, as long as you tried your hardest. These are some of the basic things that parents like to teach their children to build a standard foundation for a good life. However, how many parents really taught about this? What about this? This? Or even this? These are some of the things that people, especially teenagers like us, may have to experience in our daily lives. So why don't parents really teach us about it? Now, I'm not bashing on parents or criticizing the way kids were raised, so if I seem rather harsh, I apologize. I highly appreciate the things that I was taught, and I got pretty far with those lessons in play. There were 5 of us kids all together in one house, and so I really had to listen to those lessons to keep myself in check. Now, my stepmom, being the great woman she was, built our family on trust and honesty. Everything we did, every time we got in trouble, trust and honesty. And with those lessons in play, I got pretty far. Elementary school years and middle school years, I did pretty good. I mean, I'm no perfect person, and no one is, but with those lessons in play, I did go far. However, when I got into high school, I felt really unprepared, seeing the things that I saw, doing the things that I saw other people doing. I was scared, I'm not going to lie, because I felt very unprepared. But as I lived through it and I went through the motions, I became more independent, and I learned more things than my parents could ever teach me. Not just educationally, but the life factor. I learned more than my parents could ever tell me. Now, no parent could ever fully prepare you for the dangerous situations you may have to come across in your daily life. Yes, they can tell you, be safe, look both ways, but what about the things that they can't prevent? I remember one day I was in middle school. Period almost over, lunch patiently waiting, tapping my foot because I wanted to leave. But then the intercom came on, and we were instantly put on lockdown because there was a suspected intruder on campus. They rushed us to the back of the classroom, turned the lights off, and we sat there for what felt like 3 hours, but in reality was only about half an hour. As I sat there, I thought about all of the things that I had never told my parents, or never told my friends, or all of the terrible things that I had told my siblings. Now, I know it seems ridiculous to think of the darkest things, when in reality it's just a lockdown. But you never know when someone can open the door and poof, that's it. So through that experience, I learned to live life to the fullest. Treat every conversation like it's your last. Treat every day like it's your last, because you never know when it could be. I carry this with everything that I do, and I live my life to the fullest, and it's a pretty good way to live. Now, everyone can remember their first heartbreak, when you feel so close to someone and they just slip through your fingers. It may not be a boyfriend or girlfriend. It could just be someone you felt really close to. I was a freshman in high school when I felt this. I felt so alone and scared, and I didn't know what I did wrong. To share so much time with someone, to put in so much energy, and then they just leave. And I felt so confused because I felt like I did something wrong. So as I cried for a little bit and listened to my friends tell me it was all going to be okay, I learned something else. Don't dwell on people who are not going to dwell on you. Why should you give someone your world when they're not going to give you theirs? Through this, I got more self-confidence and more self-love than I've ever had. Now, I think we can all agree that school is not the most stress-free place. I mean, there's piles of homework with friend drama and family drama, and my added anxiety doesn't make it any better. I remember one night I was at home. I was typing a 6-page essay that was due in just 3 hours while listening to my parents fight from downstairs, while dealing with my mom drama, and my friends blowing up my phone with their boyfriend drama, and I was dealing with boyfriend drama myself. And my anxiety just tipped that over the top to the point where I had the worst panic attack of my entire life. And I can't even put into words how it felt. I was so scared and I was so confused that the next day I went to go see my therapist. And what she told me I will never forget. She told me that when it happens again, to just tell yourself it is all going to be okay. And that really stuck with me. And through that I learned this. That through every rainbow, you have to get a little rain. And life really gave me some rain. But when the clouds finally started to clear, with my family life getting better and my grades being straight A's, I now know that my rainbow is just around the corner. Now, bullying is not something that can be prevented, and not everyone is going to like you, and that's just the way it is. I remember being a freshman, the little freshman that I was, I didn't have any friends, and I wanted to just fit in. There was this one group of girls that made it their priority to really pick on me. They commented mean things on my photos. They said mean things about me in the hallways, and they gave me dirty looks. And they called me dorky and uncool. And of course, being as isolated as I was, of course I wanted to be cool. And so I started to change myself. I changed the way I acted. I changed the way I looked. I changed the way I carried myself. And they still continued to criticize. And they still continued to judge and call me dorky and uncool. And my friends started to not want to hang out with me anymore because I was a mixture of everyone else and wasn't my own true person. So as I started to realize this, I started to go back to who I really was. And my friends started to hang out with me again because they loved me for me. And I started to love myself again. And through that, I learned this. Never, ever lose who you really are to fit into someone else's standards. Because not everyone's going to like you, but you need to love yourself. And you're pretty cool. Now, I want you all to look back on the experiences that you have had. Look back on the times that you've gone through and the lessons that you have learned. Through my little stories, I have gained more knowledge than my parents could ever tell me. Life has a really funny way of teaching you things. However, some are good, and sometimes you can't really understand why it is so hard. But in time, you will learn that you don't need to rely on a parent or a book to teach you something. The greatest teacher is all around us, and it's time for us to listen. Thank you.